This wasteland they say you are going. We will miss your bright eyes and sweet.
Oh, hey, folks, and welcome to the middle of the Mojave, a fitting place to begin one of our most intriguing episodes yet, a journey to some of the exciting locations that make up the New Vegas DLC. So grab your canteens, Radaway and Stimpaks, and let's get a look at a collection of unique, out-of-the-way places. Some few people have ever visited, and one that's even forbidden to visit. Saddle up, Wasteland Wanderers. This episode's gonna be a wild ride.
Begin again in the night. Let's swim.
Our first destination is going to be the sites of dead money, starting with the Sierra Madre Casino. Now, as you know, there's no shortage of casinos on the Las Vegas Strip, and several of them might just pass for the Sierra Madre. But one in particular jumped out at me, and it's not on the Strip at all. It's the Hoover Dam Hotel and Casino in Boulder. It's a standalone casino nestled in some rocky terrain just above Lake Mead and really close to the Hoover Dam, hence the name Hoover Dam Casino. Personally, I think this one looks more like the Sierra Madre than many of its Vegas Strip cousins. But what really makes me think this one might have been more of the inspiration of the Sierra Madre is its proximity to Lake Las Vegas. In the game, Lake Las Vegas is an NCR camp and staging area for the impending Battle of Hoover Dam. In the real world, it's a resort community with an interesting roller coaster ride of a history. This Mediterranean-inspired resort town sits on the bank of the man-made Lake Las Vegas. The resort was the dream and passion of a Hollywood actor turned businessman, J. Carlton Adair, most known for his role in The Electric Horseman starring Robert Redford and Jane Fonda. Adair imagined turning the somewhat remote piece of desert into a thriving resort community to provide a retreat from the Las Vegas scene. In 1967, he got approval to proceed with the man-made lake project from the city of Henderson, and the project began. Sadly, the project struggled for some 20 years, and eventually Adair was forced to file bankruptcy. In 1987, Ronald Boddicker, an engineer and resort developer, purchased the land. Later, in 1995, Boddicker was joined by Henry Gluck, former chairman of Caesars World Casino, and Sid and Lee Bass. Over the next several years, the resort developed into a world-class resort featuring a Ritz-Carlton, boutiques, restaurants, and of course, a casino. The lake featured a beach, cabanas, and all sorts of boating activities. Real estate properties soon followed, and the resort grew into a stunning and active community. In more current times, the resort has changed hands a number of times and is currently being renovated by new investors who are revitalizing the golf courses, shops, and hotels. The Ritz-Carlton is now a Hilton, and the casino is closed. What's particularly interesting about the turbulent history of this resort is how very much it reflects some of the themes in the Dead Money expansion, such as one man's dream and that of letting go to begin again. Now, Lake Las Vegas certainly has its place in the game, and the main resort building looks an awful lot like Mr. House's retreat. But exploring a little deeper into the Lake Las Vegas resort revealed what is unmistakably the inspiration for the Sierra Madre Villa itself. Come on, follow me and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But before we go any further, let's make it a little more familiar to us gamers through the magic of video. But a little less toxic. So our first stop is here at this handy directory. In the center is the courtyard where you first meet your hologram host. But notice how there are all these different sections of the villa surrounding the central courtyard. This is the main part of the villa, and we're over here right now. But notice how much the layout of the resort matches the in-game villa. Separated sections which you really can't get to easily. I mean, you can here. But they are separated around a central courtyard, so it's very much in-game. Exploring the grounds of the resort reveals all kinds of in-game villa structures and architecture, such as this fountain right here in the middle of the courtyard. Notice how similar it is to the one where you meet the Vera hologram in the game. And check out the Mediterranean architecture surrounding it. These arches are exact matches to the ones in the in-game buildings around the fountain. And take a look at this. A number of these little fountains can be found as you walk around the resort. Oh gosh, no Sierra Madre chips in this one, but you might find a cap or two if you're lucky. But notice how closely they resemble the in-game version. Pretty awesome if you ask me. As you explore the villa in the game, assuming you're still breathing and not running from those creepy ghost people, you'll notice the designer's amazing attention to detail in capturing the Southwest and Mediterranean styles. From the colorful Mexican Talavera tiles to the arches and wrought iron balconies so familiar to the Las Vegas scene. And as you can see here, the resort is clearly the inspiration, as you'll discover the exact same architecture and details at every turn. I mean, the 3-level structures and the Spanish tile roofs so common to the Southwest villas. Now, to get from place to place in the game, one convenient way to do it is from the rooftops. So check this out. Just look at how these rooftops right here connect one section of the resort to another. And gosh, just look at that tile. You can't get a better example of a perfect in-game match than that. Now, one of the more challenging things to do in the villa is to make it alive to the bell tower. And where is that, you ask? Well, Mr. Cameraman, so wing over here and voila! Bell tower. Now, as it's part of the casino, which is currently closed, we couldn't get inside it. But if you were to, you would have an awesome view of the nearby Hoover Dam Casino, which again, I believe to be the true inspiration for the Sierra Madre. So, if you're visiting Vegas and plan to see the Hoover Dam, give yourself a little extra time and explore Lake Las Vegas. If you do, you'll get a chance to explore the villa without running from the ghost people and struggling to avoid toxic gas clouds. No sir, nothing but fresh air, fun times, and lots to do with this hidden gem of a resort.
Begin again in the night.
And here we are back at the Nevada test site to explore the Big Empty. Well, the real world equivalent anyway, the infamous Area 51. Well, let me rephrase that. We'll talk about Area 51, as I didn't really want to spend the afternoon in the back of an NSA patrol car trying to explain myself. No, sir. In the game, the Big Empty, or Big Mountain Research Facility, is home to several rather eccentric scientists and one mad scientist who have preserved their brains in robot chassis. Science! In talking with these scientists, you'll learn that several of the main DLC characters, including Ulysses and Elijah, pass through this area. This, coupled with the fact that the facility is situated in a crater that was the result of a detonation test, leave no questions for me that our real-world, highly classified military research and development facility, the infamous Area 51, is the inspiration for the Big Empty. Well, please allow me to explain. Area 51, so named after the part of the map grid that the land sits on the Nevada Test and Training Range, Grid 51, was established by the United States Air Force in 1951. It's a remote detachment of Edwards Air Force Base in Mojave, California, and is located on the edge of a dried lake bed named Groom Lake. To date, the projects and testing done here are among the government's most highly classified projects, but have mainly been stealth technology and related experimental weapons systems. The United States Air Force and the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, acquired the base in 1955 in response to the start of the Cold War, which necessitated research and development of specialized spy planes and technology. Two of these projects are the only things that have ever been declassified by the CIA in regards to activities at Area 51, and those are the incredibly successful U-2, which was developed and first flown in 1955 and remains in service today. The other project was the anti-radar and aerodynamic structural testing named the Oxcart program. This program would yield some of the Air Force's most significant and strategically valuable reconnaissance aircraft, such as the SR-71 Blackbird, the T-33 Shooting Star, the U-3A, and more, making Area 51 one of the most significant and critically important military installations in the U.S. The declassification of these projects in 2005 was the first public glimpse into Area 51, a base which conspiracy theories have flourished around for decades. Interestingly, even though the declassification of these projects took place, it would take another 8 years before the CIA would acknowledge the existence of the base to the public, which happened in 2013. Prior to this, the base was so secret it was never shown on any maps and was never acknowledged to even exist. Now that you know a little bit more about Area 51, let me explain why I think it's the inspiration for the Big Empty. First, it goes without saying that the base is home to some of the top scientists and engineers from the Cold War to present, who were and remain tasked with developing the most sophisticated and advanced military technology in the world. Second, as mentioned a bit ago, the Big Empty is located in a crater that resulted from what was clearly a massive detonation test. In the real world, Area 51 is located due east of the Sedan crater. Now, if you remember from our nuclear test site episode, the Sedan crater is the largest man-made crater in the world and was the result of a massive nuclear detonation performed at the test site on July 6, 1962. The crater is only 12 miles from Groom Lake and is massive. In fact, it's about the same size and diameter as the crater in the game based on the size of the buildings we see in the Big Empty. Finally, the Big Empty scientists will talk about the previous visitors that came to their facilities. A little investigation and you realize they are talking about none other than Ulysses from the Lonesome Road DLC and Elijah from the Dead Money DLC. As we know, Ulysses ends up at the top of the Lonesome Road, which in the real world, if you were to travel through Ashton, you would be heading toward Tonopah to the north. And Elijah ended up trapped at the Sierra Madre casino due south and almost exactly equidistant from Area 51. Now, if Joshua Graham had been in the mix, he'd have ended up in Zion, which is almost equidistant from Area 51 due east. I find the proximity of these three locations to Area 51 really interesting. Well, as it turns out, if you were to leave Las Vegas traveling to these destinations, you would be traveling north on State Route 95, which borders the Nevada Test Range to the west. And if you were able to enter the range and head north to Tonopah and east to Zion, that junction would be exactly where Area 51 sits in the real world. This more than anything confirms for me that Area 51 is indeed the Big Empty. And come on, a bunch of eccentric scientists and one mad one? All kinds of wild military experiments, including gray skeletons running around in sci-fi spacesuits that happen to look a lot like space aliens? I rest my case.
Science!
So traveling about 70 miles north of the Groom Lake area, up State Route 95, what I believe to be the actual Lonesome Road, you'll arrive in Tonopah. Now, I'll discuss Tonopah in the Lonesome Road section, which is coming up, but I wanted to show it to you here as, like Area 51, it's part of the Nellis Test Range. This old gold mining town is proudly known to the inhabitants today as the home of stealth, and it's where stealth aircraft are flown and tested in a location designated Area 52. Now, not to crush the hopes of all those hoping to catch a glimpse of a UFO or an alien, I've got something even more scary right here at the world-famous Clown Motel. If you want one of the most interesting and potentially terrifying motel stays of your life, come to Tonopah and pay the Clown Motel and Museum a visit like I'm about to do. Because, I mean, what could go wrong with a motel full of clowns? Come on, please. Stepping inside, I quickly realized I've probably made just about the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life and have accepted the fact I will probably never sleep again. So, check it out. Okay, I don't know what's in room 208, but considering that the hotel is next to a cemetery and is supposedly haunted, I don't need to find out. Nope, but if you'd like to book a stay, here's some info. Although Area 51 has been deeply shrouded in mystery since its inception, and it has certainly had its share of controversies, and it's the clear single most conspiracy theory fueling military installation, bar none, the base has played one of the, if not the most significant roles in the safety and security of the United States by developing the most sophisticated and strategically important reconnaissance and stealth aircraft the world has ever seen. A mission that continues today and will continue far into the future. Oh, and by the way, this is a planned project that's supposed to be somewhere outside of Nipton in the future. Just saying. So there you have it, folks. The Big Empty, or what I believe is Area 51. Now, that's up for some debate, but you be the judge. Now, this isn't the Sedan crater behind me, which you can tour if you want to go on a wait list, but there's plenty of places like this in the Mojave, so you get the idea.
With silence.